I ain't gonna bust out in song, but I might break out a fight.
Whoa!
So if you do pay attention to the box office and basically Hollywood trends of the last 10 years, you have noticed that sequels are everywhere, and a lot of people have bemoaned that fact that there's nothing new, there's nothing original, because it's all just rehashes of things that were successful the first time, and they try to recapture that glory, and it doesn't go well for them. Rightly so. Obviously, they're going to have some. Anyway, let's go into this article first because I have a feeling that I'm going to disagree a lot. So the article is titled "Is Hollywood's Addiction to Sequels Cannibalizing Its Future?" Because the top 10 grossing movies of the year are all sequels. Are now sustaining the industry, but they're in danger of consuming it. Pretty loaded statement. I could see why they'd come to this, but I think there's way more nuance to be found. So Owen Gleiberman says that the other day he was looking up a data point on boxofficemojo.com and he noticed something that shocked him. The top 10 grossing movies of 2024 from Inside Out 2 to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes are all sequels. Every GT one of them. Wicked and Moana, he includes Wicked in there for some reason, which kind of skews the list for me already, although it isn't technically a sequel. When you consider how many people have seen the original Broadway show, the truth is that the movie version is a kind of the same but also different follow up. Okay, that's a big no. No, you can't do that. It is a film adaptation of a Broadway play. It is not a sequel. Go screw yourself. The reason I was shocked by the fact that I could be shocked by this is that you enjoy getting tasered, and the Hollywood has been famously awash with sequels since the dawn of the Reagan era. Now, what he's talking about now is stuff like Poltergeist 2, Terminator 2, Aliens, Beverly Hills Cop, Fletch Lives. Most people don't even remember Fletch, unless you were around during the time or a huge fan of Chevy Chase. He said most of them were tacky cash grabs. Most of Hollywood is a tacky cash grab. Let's be real. Let's keep that, 100 right here. Most of Hollywood films are tacky cash grabs, and sometimes you get the lightning in the bottle. And so obviously when they see that, they want to go for more, especially when you have characters that everyone falls in love with, when you have storylines that everyone wants to see more of, and then they go off. And if they do it the right way, those sequels become some of the best ones of all time. Think Back to the Future too. Arguably, at least in my opinion, better than Back to the Future 1. The cash grab was Back to the Future 3, but this is a conversation for another time. He says now, in nowadays holiday, of course they tend to be much better. In our time, the definition of a sequel has fundamentally changed. I am going to highly disagree with you, brother. Case in point, The Last Jedi. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Good, bad, or indifferent. They're no longer automatically chintzy rehashes. Well, it wasn't a chintzy rehash. I could tell you that about The Last Jedi. You know what it did was completely me too the original trilogy and the characters that brought people to the theaters for Star Wars in the first place. So you could take that somewhere else. So as he goes over his little list, there are a couple of discrepancies that I see and things that I could argue against. And not to be mean to this guy or like try to call him out or anything, but I think he is reaching a little bit when he talks about Inside Out too. All right, yeah, great, but that was also it's not a standalone movie, but time does pass in that even though we're dealing with the same Riley character, the main character. The top grossing movie of the year is an enchantingly awesome sequel. All right. Hey, whatever you want, man. Deadpool and Wolverine, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a sequel. It's just another movie that stars Deadpool. Not much of it really has to do with the stuff from the other. I don't know how much I would call it a sequel. I guess it is, or just something else in the same universe. A sequel would mean it would be a direct sequel, and this obviously is not. So I would be iffy about putting that on my list. Despicable Me 4, well, it's got 4 in the name, so yeah, it's like basically Friday the 13th of comedies at this point. Beetlejuice, yes, everybody's been looking at that, but also they got Michael Keaton back for it. Because if you didn't have that, if you didn't have the original actor and the original actor actually wanted to do it, that never would have happened. Dune Part 2, that's not a sequel. That's a part 2 of one story. So that's not a sequel. So get that out of here. He goes on to talk about Twisters, Godzilla versus Kong, The New Empire. I actually didn't watch that, so there's not much that I could say on it, whether it's a sequel or not, or just another Godzilla versus Kong movie told from a different perspective. Kung Fu Panda, yeah, another one that has 4 in the name. Bad Boys Ride or Die, that's Bad Boys 4. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is, I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that, but that's basically the Planet of the Apes 4. So maybe 2024 was the year of 4s. I would have much rather had that as the title and then you cherry pick these things rather than trying to add in some things that are clearly not even sequels in order to make your point, because you need that top 10 list. You need a 10. Ask Collider. That's how it works. Ask BuzzFeed. Ugh. And here's where I wanted to come full circle. Hollywood sequel culture, in other words, is in reasonably healthy creative shape. Creative by building upon things that were created by someone else a while back. You think that's healthy creatively? No, that's not how this works. Just the mere fact that you bring up creativity when it comes to a sequel of where there's already an established universe, already established characters, and you're just going more into that with different directors, different writers, a lot of the times, different actors, and whole different storylines. It's like just the fact that you're calling that healthy in a creative sense, it just flabbergasts me. No, you're not coming up with anything new. What you're doing is you're leeching off of IPs that have worked in the past in order to make it work today. Now, some of these do work, and that's why people are saying it's like, oh, look at all these sequels that are doing well. It's like, well, it's because nothing else fucking out. And yes, some of them are good. So we're not going to take anything away from those IPs, the ones that did good, the ones that were good. We're not going to take anything away from them because everyone likes the sequels to some things. Let me parse my words right there. The sequel trilogy of Star Wars is absolute dog shit. But everyone loves The Empire Strikes Back. A lot of people like Return of the Jedi. That's another discussion for another time too. But there are plenty of times where sequels end up becoming trilogies or sagas or anything like that, and the audience loves them because they were done with respect to the characters and the world that was created for them. But they also knew exactly what they were doing. They knew the audience wanted to see more, therefore they made more, if not more of the same, more kind of like of the same, but from a different point of view. So what I mean by that is let's look at Empire Strikes Back. I know I keep going back to Star Wars, but tonally, it was extremely different from A New Hope, which actually should just be called Star Wars, but they changed the name. Same thing with Aliens. It's a completely different thing from James Cameron than what Ridley Scott did with Alien. Set in the same universe with the same characters, yet tonally different, and that's why it worked, because it was still fresh. These new sequels that are coming out nowadays are not fresh. They're basically rehashes of what made the money in the first place with a shiny coat of paint. I know we keep saying that a lot, but this is what they spend most of their budget on, or so it seems, is the CGI and making sure everything looks flashy and there's tons of colors and everything like that. But the story plots, the development, the writing is just not there. And a lot of times the acting is not there anymore. They revert to silly little catchphrases and things that everyone remembered. Let's just look at Romulus. What did she say? Get your hands off her, bitch, or whatever Ripley's famous line was that they had to like ham fist into that movie. No, it's just member berries. That's what they're doing for things that they already know started out profitable. So healthily, in a healthy creative shape, get the fuck out of here with this. I highly disagree with it. And now we hear him out fully. because he does have some poignant things to say. I am not, like I said, I am not shitting on Owen Gleiberman. I'm just saying I highly disagree with the way that he framed the first parts of this. So at the end of the article, he does go on to give the other side, and much respect for that. I think everyone should tackle topics in that way. Try to see both sides. Look at it a little bit more closely because, as he says, Hollywood has always cannibalized itself. But the thing is, it hasn't just cannibalized itself. The contradiction of sequel culture and the threat of it is that if all you rely on is concepts from the past, you're not going to produce enough of a future. He will get on because there was something I would say right here, but he actually does put it in this paragraph. So let's hear his words. To put it in the industry's correct terms, there won't be enough hit movies to make sequels to. Focus on hit movies. What wasn't a hit movie in Hollywood? Terrifier. It was an indie film that gained a cult following and now actually is in theaters. It took 3 movies to get it to theaters, but yes, there will always be creators out there. It's just Hollywood doesn't want to focus on those unless they make so much of a splash and unless so many people just beating down their doors begging for more that they'll actually listen to you. Sequel culture contains, by definition, an element of non sustainability. Yeah, pretty big old fat duh. And when it comes to the trend of making sequels to 40-year-old movies, how many times can we really go back and strip mine the primal nostalgia of films like Top Gun and Beetlejuice? Okay, now we're not talking about sequels. Now at times, especially in the mid 2000s and 2010s, they were digging up 30, 40-year-old movies and doing reboots, and they're still doing that shit to this day. So Hollywood is not going to get away from this trend. I understand the point that he's trying to make here. I think he's good-hearted in nature by trying to bring it up, but I think he's a little bit missing the full context of what Hollywood does. Yes, they will always dredge up things that garner nostalgia and also garner a lot of ticket sales. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Titanic too. And to sum it up, sequel culture, like a lot of addictions, is exciting and depressing at the same time. It's not exciting to me, but that's just me. I'm only excited for things that, that's why we have trailers in the first place. You can give a little tester to see, does it look good? Is it hitting the right emotional beats? Does it seem like it's holding true to the thing that you might want to see more of? Now, a lot of movies are being made that are sequels to what the fans thought would be a one-off. We don't want to see more. We don't need to see more. Joker Folie à Deux, absolutely. Nobody wanted any more than that. We didn't need a prequel to Mad Max, Fury Road. Although it doesn't necessarily have to be a prequel. I would have liked to watch a Furiosa movie. I don't like calling it a Mad Max saga because you put those 2 words in there when he's not even existent, even though they tried to shoehorn someone that they called that in there. Yeah, that was complete folly in my estimation, but I still would have liked to see that movie. I had no desire to see Joker Folie à Deux. But herein lies where everyone's preferences come into play. There might have been something that you saw on that list or that was mentioned that you actually were really excited for, you really loved, yet I didn't care about. There's also stuff where I was really excited about something and a lot of people were just like, what the fuck is that? That's what happens. That's taste, that's entertainment. We're all different when it comes to this stuff. But we have to go back to the numbers and basically just the trends that Hollywood's been doing. We've been looking at them, seeing them, whether or not we understand them or not. We've been looking at them and making our own estimations throughout all this time. But what they're doing is following money, thinking that if they generate enough hype, and that's why you see production budgets going through the roof. That's why you see advertising budgets going through the roof because they're trying to generate hype for something that a lot of customers don't even want to see. They weren't hyped for it. You can't get them hyped for it because there's like, I was done with that. I've moved on. Have you moved on? Let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to hash it out respectively. And like, share, subscribe. We're growing this channel every day. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. This is Multi from the GCA. We will see you later. Bye.